welcome back to the channel. Since we started this journey on YouTube, we've featured our little off-grid cabin that we live in full-time in northern Michigan. And we showed the different off-grid systems that we have, and Barb did a video on how she makes the inside work for our everyday living needs. But we've had a few different people ask us how we did our construction of the cabin and why we did what we did, how we did what we did. And this was almost 4 years ago now. And at that point of our journey, we had absolutely no desire or inkling or even thought of doing a YouTube channel. So we don't have any video of this process at all, but we do have some pictures that she took through it. So I'm kind of go through the pictures here and describe a little bit of the building process that we did. Back when we bought this property in 2018, it was the fall of 2018, we'd visit it pretty frequently and take walks and talk and dream, as people normally do when they buy a piece of property. And way back at the back part of the property, there's a spot here. Just some beautiful trees, just a quiet, peaceful spot, and just a nice open spot for a little cabin. Had an old logging trail leading right to it, and every time I went back there, it was like, it spoke to me. It said, insert cabin right here. And Barb and I talked about it several times, and she said, yeah, maybe someday we can do that, but we'll never have power all the way back there. Who'd want to spend money to bring power back there? Let's build our main house first. And that's what we were going to do starting in the spring of 2019, but we got called to do different things at that time, and we thought we'd put it off for a year. We weren't in a big hurry. Land wasn't going anywhere. Save up more money. What could go wrong? Not like a pandemic would come along and you would have supply chain issues and soaring costs of lumber prices. Nothing like that would happen. Yeah. Okay, anyways. So in the spring of 2020, that's when, with all this going on, Barb's like, maybe we should just try that first. So we were both working full-time at that point in our lives yet. So we wanted to build something that we could get done fairly quickly. Something that was easy to build, something that went up fast, something that would be low maintenance in the future. So I decided just to do a little, you can call it a barn dominium, you can call it a cabin, you can call it a little shack in the woods, whatever, it's ours. And we really enjoy it. So I got some pictures here. We're just going to kind of go through the process that we did. Like I said, we had very little site prep work to do. We had a drive going back there. Cut down that little maple tree and raked away the leaves. We put up some stakes and string and squared up the build site, dug our holes for our posts, poured some concrete for some footings on the bottom of those. And we thought, let's call our son. He's working for a pole barn builder downstate right now. See if we can coax him up here for a weekend. Come up on a Saturday, bring a few of his buddies. We'll feed you pizza and give you some cash in your pockets. And that got him up there. So they came up on a Saturday morning, and this crew of 4 young men took that pile of lumber and trusses, and in one day, this is what they got done. They got the whole bones of the building put up for me in one day. That was a good kickstart to this project. It just really made it seem possible. As you can see from this picture here, you look at the ledger board on the left-hand side of the picture to the ledger board on the right-hand side of the picture. There's about the board on the left is about a few inches off the ground, and the board on the right, some places is up to almost 2 feet off the ground. But that was how we leveled out the floor. We put our floor joists across a 16-foot span. Those are all Wallmanized. And then underneath that, we had some lamb beams that we spaced out 5-foot centers across there. And the floor joists sit on top of that, so it really took the spring out of the floor. Nice solid floor to start with. Then from there, I put down sheets of 1/2-inch Wallmanized plywood. So basically everything that was underneath the cabin that was exposed to the elements, to humidity, to vapors, to all that, I wanted to be Wallmanized. So we put down that subfloor. Then from there, I built a 8-foot porch deck off the front and got that done, and then just started putting the steel on. We were limited on windows on it. It's a small space, so we didn't need too many windows in there. We got a 4x5 slider in the back for the bedroom, good egress window. Then we have 2 small windows, one in the bathroom, one over the kitchen sink. Then we supplemented it by putting the glass doors, French doors in the front of there, which let in a lot of natural light. So once I got all the metal done on the outside of the building, it was time to start going to the inside. Different insulation projects. Insulation is never a fun job, but just kind of wanting to do my own thing here and have my own theories about it with different insulation. What I ended up doing, since it was pole barn style, so I got 4x8 sheets of 2-inch rigid foam insulation and basically encapsulated the whole thing. So all the walls and the ceiling, I attached the styrofoam to the truss underneath the trusses, and then to the inside of the wall purlins. So I had 2 inches of rigid foam for the ceilings and the walls. And then every seam where they came together, I taped that, and every corner and joint that I could, I caulked that. So it basically is a very sealed envelope. And so far, 2 full-time winters in there. I think the most we've gone through burning wood and through a northern Michigan winter is 4 face cord. And a lot of times, even in the coldest parts of the winter, that I did roll some fiberglass insulation on top up in the attic space there, just for a little more in the ceiling. But other than that, it's kept the place very warm and cozy. In fact, a lot of times in the winter, even the coldest part of the winter, we got to crack the windows. It gets so warm in there. Then what I did for the floor system, you can see a little bit in a couple of these pictures. I took the zip system. It's basically the Zip R system has 1 inch of foam insulation on the backside of a 7/16 piece of OSB, and then on the outside exterior part, which it's supposed to be meant to use for, is a waterproof vapor barrier on there. So I laid that foam side down on the floor, so there's 1 inch of insulation on the floor itself. In between the plywood, the OSB, and the foam, that's been a pretty decently warm floor for us through the winter times. If I had to do it over again, I don't think I'd do more than that, because once we have that cabin warmed up with a wood stove, it's very comfortable in there. And basically after that, all that was up, you have 5.5-inch post beams that you use for your walls, for your framing. So then 2 inches of rigid foam on the inside of that left me with 3.5 inches, perfect space to put a 2x4 interior framed wall inside, just basically to attach our tongue and groove pine to. So for the ceiling, we basically put some screwed into the trusses, the bottom side of the trusses. On the other side of the styrofoam, some 2x4 nailers. We attached corrugated tin to that for our ceiling, just a little contrast to all the wood that we have going on in there. And then over top of that subfloor, I was easily able to lay some vinyl laminate flooring down to finish off the floor. And then for the cabinetry, we just took some basic off-the-shelf base cabinets. We had a certain dimension of the kitchen wall that we had to use for our kitchen. There's only a certain amount of space, so we knew what width the stove was. We knew what width the refrigerator was. So between the fridge and the stove, we were able to fit a 6-foot base cabinet in there. And then on the other side of the stove, we had room for a 1-foot base cabinet there, and we built up from there. We lived in the original finished part. We moved in on the end of July of 2020. So starting June 1st to the end of July, it was 2 months on the build, me doing it when I had time off from work. So it was a fairly quick, efficient way to build. And we got to a point where we could move in, and we moved in for August, September, October, November. November came around, and we realized we really weren't ready for a Michigan winter there. We didn't have it figured out how we were going to get the snow plowed all the way out of there. The front porch wasn't done. The back room that we insulated to keep our water supply and our lithium-ion batteries from freezing wasn't finished. And we didn't have any firewood cut at all, and the wood stove wasn't even hooked up. So we moved out of there. We basically shut it up, as you see in this picture here. We put the sliding barn doors on the front, so we were able to slide those shut over the glass entry doors and padlock that shut. And then I had pieces of plywood that I cut to fit inside each window space and put those up on the inside. And basically we were able to just leave it for the winter. feeling pretty secure about it. We checked on it occasionally, but we never had any problems back then. When we came back in the spring, we really knew we needed, first of all, to get a decent outhouse built out there. We were using just a small box system back in the trees, which was great on a sunny day. It was horrible on a cold, rainy day. But we decided to build a outhouse, and this is a model I came up with, a little bit bigger than your average outhouse. It's finished on the inside also. If you're going to be using an outhouse, you might as well have a nice one. And then we realized also, having visited through the winter, how much snow got on that front porch. Is that we really need to enclose that front porch. So basically, I got some nice big slider windows to wrap around the porch there, and got some shiplap pine and finished it off on the front and did a nice cedar tone. And that seemed to come out in contrast with the metal building. We like it. So whatever you want to call it, it's a barn dominium, cabin, or a shack in the woods. It's ours, and it's comfortable. And we got peace and quiet back there. And we've been in it coming up to, it's not too long, and it's going to be 3 years full time. And we have no regrets. We even thought about building a traditional house on the front of the property after we had this done. But we are just loving this lifestyle. It's quaint, it's cozy, it's quiet, it's cheap, and it's got everything we need. It's helping us learn to be more self-sufficient. It's helping us to learn things we need and things we don't need. And it's just been a wonderful part of our lives. And looking back, we really wouldn't change a thing. So, hey, thanks for watching. Hope this can encourage anybody along there to live out your dreams and find your different kind of quiet.